Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining Canadina every evening to follow what's happening in India and abroad. Thank you for sending me your useful comments and suggestions. If you believe in this channel, do hit the like button, share with friends, and spread the message. Our only mission is to bring you the truth and both sides of the story. Thank you for your support. We have Mayur Kalbag back with us tonight. Welcome, Mayur.
Namaskar, Har Har Mahadev.
Har
As
Har
Karthik
Mahadev.
says, uh, as Karthik says, this is a little offbeat to the type of topics we take up. But
Yeah,
to be frank, Meena, I think it's the backdrop of the fact that I've been a corporate trainer for 20 years. So
yeah.
a little bit of that, probably has shaped up this topic. So thank you for having me over, Meena.
Always a pleasure to have people like you who can speak so well and illustrate what we discuss in such a manner, in a simple manner, that our viewers can understand, not the
Thank you.
convoluted language that politicians use. You know, so thank you for that.
That means a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So, Mayur, today we're talking about toxic workplaces, and that's ever growing, especially in the multinational companies, with more and more people experiencing burnout. We all need to stop and take a long, hard look at the environment we work in. And
Correct.
see, if you look at the kind of symptoms, what are the symptoms that a person should recognize? Is that if a person starts to fail at their job and feels unhappy, how can they know if it is them or the workplace itself? Has the air in your office ever felt heavy? Is there tension? Are deadlines getting closer to each other and people seem stressed out? In this session, we will explore all these factors, and Mayur will give us his suggestions because he's been he's been advising people, giving talks to youngsters, motivating them, and so and so forth. So this I felt is a very very important issue because many youngsters are facing this problem. So one thing I wanted to ask you, Mayur, is that see when someone questions you or asks talks to you and says that see I don't like your attitude, okay? Or who do you think you are? Okay, you're not as intelligent as you think you are. Or going even further and saying that see uh, I don't know what you're doing in this company, you know uh, I think you should look somewhere else where the job is more fitting for you, because here you're just wasting your time. An office is for purely for work. It all starts with something simple like I don't like your attitude, you know and and you question yourself, what is wrong with your attitude? You've not done anything, you've just worked. Okay, but somewhere something has rubbed the person, the senior, in a sort of a strange manner. So tell us, Mayur, you through your experience, what are these symptoms and why do people do it?
Okay. Um, First and foremost, Meena, I would just like to say a lot of people are saying hello to us. So whoever names I can see, let me just first. You can hear my
Yeah, yeah.
voice.
Yes, yes, very clear.
I just want to say hello to Sujatha and Karthik and Prini and Martin and
Rennie,
uh, every yeah,
Mystic Voice, Anuradha.
Mystic Voice. Yes, everybody. I just want to say hi to all of you. Like I say, this is like a family to me as well. I'm free and open to speak about or share my thoughts. And for any topic, Meena, whether it's occult and it's booth and anything. I believe our session will be effective if it comes with a little bit of something to do with experience or having felt something. And so, a lot of what I'm going to share here, I would request all the viewers as well to please feed us with your thoughts, because we all have been, in different degrees, been affected by what we call as office politics. You started off by saying sometimes we have to encounter statements like, what kind of attitude do you have, or I'm not happy with the way you're working. Um, this is not the way I expect you to work. Um, there are a lot of things that get connected to politics and that get connected to toxicity in a corporate environment. So I'm going to go simplistically, Meena, and I'm going to start with the fact that why would somebody say at a typically senior level to a junior that I'm not happy with your attitude, okay, or this is not the way I expect you to work? First and foremost, understand that when we are in a corporate, there is a corporate culture, and in that culture, within that corporate culture, there are some vultures.
Yeah.
What I mean by vultures, I'm not saying typically those who scavenge and all. I'm saying it in a very metaphoric way. They are flying and they're looking out for weak people. They'll be looking out for people who are very sincere. They're looking out for king, but are very sensitive, who probably get affected very quickly. And I'm not saying every manager is that way, but there are some who try to pick on people. Okay, and there are two reasons they do it. One, they pick on certain people who are really very good. They're very competent, which makes them the boss feels insecure. That's one reason why they try to pick by saying statements which can hurt their feelings, their emotions, and they know it. So it's a, sometimes it's also called bullying,
Yeah.
not ragging but bullying. Um, Sometimes a manager wants to exercise his or her authority, and he wants to do that in a very aggressive manner by saying things like, I know what your attitude is, I want you to change. See, remember that a corporate culture means a culture made of values, and one of the values, Meena, that I've encountered in great companies is the value of respect. When there is no respect, then the tone and the words of communication change. That's when, like you said, a boss can say things like, I'm not happy with your attitude. There's not. So the such ways of speaking affects the emotions of the person who's reporting to the boss. And therefore, Meena, um, although there's a lot to talk about toxicity and politics, I would say that rude, insulting, provocative statements come out of these some of these bosses only because they are themselves insecure, or they want to just show who's the boss and they don't know how to do that. All right. And in this session, what I'm going to also focus a lot on is how do we deal with it? Because I've had a boss who used to scold us and pass sarcastic remarks for coming late, and he would do that himself coming late to office and give us lectures on time management. And so, and we used to find it so hypocritical that you come late and you give us gyan and knowledge on why we should not be. And that's when my father said that whether he comes late or not, why are you giving him the ammunition to shoot you with his words? Why are you going late? So if you follow what you're doing diligently, sincerely, if you keep your Arjunas focused and keep focusing on your performance, the more such statements come in, the more you might get affected. But the more you focus on your work and the more you strengthen your own competencies, the less you'll be affected. So if you make your core strong, and these are words, like some of you may say, Mayur, come on, this is okay when you talk, but in reality, when you come across such toxic people who say things to hurt you, how will you deal with it? I believe it comes with maturity and it comes with training your mind to focus on your objective. Um, this is where I put a comma, otherwise, I'll keep going on. But my response to you was there are people with their own ulterior motives of insecurity or trying to show who's the boss. They will say such statements. They can't see. So I was just saying to myself when I got the topic, when we discussed the topic, is envy and jealousy along with insecurity. Envy, which leads to jealousy, leading to insecurity, keeps makes some people behave in ways which look like aggression, rudeness, bullying. It's up to us how we deal with it, and
Absolutely.
that's where I put a comma to what I'm saying.
Yeah. See, what you said is so right, Mayur, because see, work should be engaging and challenging. It should feel rewarding. When
Yeah,
you hear this, the person is trying to kill any motivation to change up something in your work routine, or if you suggest that things are done in a different way, and they're not able to listen to you, that itself shows that, see, there's something terribly wrong,
Absolutely.
and and there's a difference between having an attitude and standing up for yourself.
True.
When your higher ups are trying to shut you down because they can't handle valid criticism. See,
Yeah.
now, just because you're working under the person may be very calm and say, in response, see, I like the way you asked me to make my work better. But when you question my integrity, I'd like to stand up for that, because you just said that, see, I'm not honest. And I, I've always prided myself for being, my integrity, for being honest. Now, if you say that, that can, sort of upset me. If it's work related, it's fine. So when you hear something like that, then again the boss gets even more,
Correct.
you know.
Correct.
So the way you tackle it is a very, very important thing, Mayur.
So I'll just keep adding points, okay, so that it'll be more interactive. So there are two things. One is professional insights and personal observations. When a boss or a manager mixes it up and focuses more on personal observations and doesn't appreciate or acknowledge or even constructively criticize professional insights. Like, for example, if he's not doing work, then you obviously constructively criticize. But if you're going to make personal observations, when I say personal, I'm talking about that what you're talking about is the attitude, the integrity, the values. And some people want to focus more on personal observations and personal remarks purposefully to put the person down.
Yeah.
It's how that's why I said the core has to be very strong. Um, when we were having a small little discussion before the session actually went live, and I want to say this to all our friends who are watching, is I've gone through a situation where um, personal remarks were being made, um, and I would internally feel very awkward and difficult to retaliate because I was insecure about my job. Like you said, if I were to stand up and he would say, "You stood up very good, now get out," then what will I do? So there's a lot of fear that resides in many of us of losing the kind of job. See, Meena, a lot of us love the job, but many of us leave the company because of the person who's bossing us or to whom we report. Many people leave not the job for the job, but they leave the job for the person, and that is because of the personal aspects which the boss says. And when it happened to me, I realized that what helped me were people who were my well wishers. So, to all the people, I say that even if a boss behaves in a particular way which affects us, and the main motive is to make you lose your focus on your professional job, because that's what they want. Some people are so sadistic, they do not want you to grow high. There's that crab mentality, they keep pulling you. And some bosses are not as openly rude, also, Meena. They are very subtle. They will pinch you, but they will not hit you. So much so that
I'd
it
like to, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and I'd just like to tell you something. One
yeah.
of my experiences, see, since I'm a journalist, I was working in different kinds of magazines, and I was more into feature writing. So when I was made the editor, of a magazine that was run, that was local in UAE, but
Yeah.
managed by Britishers.
Hmm.
So the lady who was the editor in chief
Hmm.
had knowledge, but not the kind of knowledge that I would say a journalist needs to have. So it's very specific, because I think she was a food editor or some such.
Yeah. Right.
So from the moment I came into the company, they felt that I had added strength to it. Then what happened was, there came a stage when the local, the partners of the companies came to me and said that, see, it was a husband and wife British couple. So the company, the local, people came to me and said that, see, Meena, you're really good. Uh, can we replace you? Replace them with you,
Hmm.
because we're having a few problems.
mm,
So I said, no, that wouldn't be fair because see, they took me in, you know, and I can't do that to them, you know. But and just being sincere, what I did was I told them about it. Now, normally someone who's sincere would say that, you know, thank you for that. You know what they did? After some time, you know, as the magazine progressed, it became good and all that. Then what they did was they brought in another lady as a proofreader, you know, and she would take my copy. So for so long, the editorial was fine without any glitch. And this lady would take her red pen and mark every second word, saying it's wrong, grammatically wrong, no punctuation, no this thing, blah, blah, blah. So whenever I give copy, you know, for it to be done, this would come back on my table. And then I realized, see, they want to push me out, okay, but they don't have the weapon. So this weapon came in the form of a proofreader who is also British. And because they're British, they think they know the language better than us, forgetting the fact that we learn English right from you know, LKG, you know. And so what happened was I left the company. I joined another magazine. But what I'm saying is these are some of the techniques they use to make you feel small, you know, to mock you, you know. So long as, you know, everything was hunky dory, articles went into print, magazine was a success, everything was okay. The moment the management
yep.
decided to remove this couple, they realized that the actual threat was me, you know, and they wanted me, you know. So this is just one incident, I mean, among so many that we face.
True, 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 true. I know. And the sad part, Meena, is there are a lot of people who become victims of aggression and of taunts, to the extent that their work gets affected, their concentration goes away, their work-life balance goes away. Do you know there are some people who have, because I do trainings, right, Meena, I meet a lot of participants, and some of them actually come up to me and talk to me during the tea breaks and the coffee breaks, and they request confidentiality, right, because they don't want me to, and they tell me, one of them told me that because of this boss who used to say, when this person would leave office at say 5:30, 6 o'clock, because he used to start at 8:30, he used to say, "Kya half day le raha hai kya?" And this guy was a good person. He would work hard. He would not take those casual breaks, and he wouldn't waste his time because he was a young father. He wanted to go home. And here's a boss who himself probably doesn't have anything else to do in life. Just sit in the office and sit as much as he wants to, spread the work. So when he would see this guy leave, he would say half day later. And this guy would, he said to me, Mayur, do you know how it hurts me? Because I had to sit late only to make the boss, keep quiet so that he doesn't make all these taunts.
Hmm.
This is just one example. Sometimes you'll find a boss feeling so, he cannot see the fact that there's a smart junior who's performing, and then he will try and do favoritism. And he will, favoritism is another big problem. So when I do my workshops as well, when we talk about managerial skills, this is where spirituality plays an important role. Spirituality not in the sense of the religiosity, that is very private. Spirituality in the sense of your value system, your corporate values, your ethical values. When you go to any organization, they have our philosophy, our vision, our values. How much or how many of those values have the employees actually inculcated? And this is where I hold, if you don't mind me saying, the human resource a little responsible. How are they driving these values across and trying to embed them in the people? For example, a value of speaking in a tone which is respectful and becoming diplomatic even in criticism is so important. I think there's a question that's what I'm seeing right now is that bullying top Indian companies also? If I can take that up, then I'm absolutely of the view that whether it's the multinational organization, a top IT organization, or a multinational manufacturing organization, what happens is even a very nice person who joins in, If that person is not growing in the organization, he starts stagnating. That also keeps this, it creates an opening for negativity to come in, for jealousy to come in. The same nice person suddenly finds himself feeling insecure, suddenly finds himself seeing, he finds himself where others are slowly growing because they're taking extra effort. And that makes this nice guy slowly, unfortunately, change his own color. And that's where the bullying starts.
Yeah.
So my answer to next question is, it does happen, but it's very individualistic. It's
Yeah.
not like everybody who rises become a bully. That's why I always say, Meena, that every manager should be taught how to become a mentor,
Yeah.
because mentoring is a beautiful way by which you help somebody grow and you grow along with that person. And if managers are made to understand that, see, Meena, there are some people who become managers only by their experience of having worked in a company. They don't know how to manage people, but they have become manager. Why? Because they worked for so many number of years and they were very good technically. But when you are technically good and you're managing, suddenly you are promoted to a manager, you have say 45 people under you. You are in a mess because you don't know exactly what to do. And if you don't upgrade your soft skills, if you don't upgrade your knowledge of how to be an effective manager, or if you don't read, for example, on leadership, or if you don't take initiative to, say, participate in some training, learning programs, that person, Meena, remains where that person is. The manager sees 45 people and he's confused. He thinks he knows everything, but what he doesn't know is how to really take care of the 45 people. That's where the birth of bullying, aggression all takes place, because he's frustrated.
Yeah.
And if he finds some people are smarter, if he finds some people coming and saying, "Sir, there's a nice seminar on leadership, I would like to attend," what is the manager going to do? Like, he's like, "You're going to step into my shoes later, is it? That's why you want to
That's
attend?"
that
And
is see that's a very important question, because Mayur, see, if
yeah,
you're doing courses which is going to help you in self growth,
yeah,
that also becomes a threat. And they'll ask you, see, are you learning it in our time? Are you
yeah.
wasting time in office studying these courses?
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Indian companies, I think Mandar has been making interesting,
Yeah.
sharing interesting perspectives. Mandar says Indian companies are very hierarchical, and so bullying is not required. Um, U.S. corporate depend upon bullying to put down employees. Okay, this is a statement. I have a varied perspective on this. Mandar, my point of view is, today all organizations are those who are connected internationally. I mean, most of the organizations want to export. They have people with whom they interact. They have agencies probably from different countries to help them, etc. I'm not saying all, but a lot of. I believe that it's the individual who plays the role of a manager. If he doesn't or she doesn't evolve, Meena, here I again come back to the same point. If he sees people under him as in who are reporting to him, wanting to evolve, wanting to grow, wanting to succeed, and if he or that manager remains to be just a caterpillar, doesn't want to evolve into a butterfly, metamorphosis is tough, transformation is tough, but there are some who want to transform. They have the vision. And if some of these people do not want to, they want to be the manager. Meena, I've come across a person who works in a clerical position in a bank who has rejected opportunities to become a manager only because he doesn't like transfers. Okay. And because of that, he's remained, he doesn't even want to be an officer because he says, I'll miss out on my cricket in the evenings. Now, that is his priority. Fine. But when he sees other clerical people wanting to give exams, wanting to become officers, wanting to, rise as managers, iski jalti hai, if you don't mind me saying. He starts getting, he doesn't know what to do because he doesn't want to change, and he then doesn't allow others to change as well. So he'll influence, and that happens not only at a clerical level, it also happens at managerial levels also. So I think the answer to this is, one is protecting ourselves from statements that can affect our mind and our thinking. that happens only, I think, Meena, when we actually meditate on our goals. I'll ask you, I'll ask myself, I'll ask everybody who's watching this show and who are going to watch it later. How many of us have done goal setting? Short term, medium term, long term goal setting. Have converted this exercise of setting goals on paper. Because believe me, Meena, people who have absolute clarity on their ambitions, they will put that first and everything else second. Having said all this, some people have left organizations because they have been able to find it very difficult to work in a toxic workplace. So at the moment they get an opportunity to jump, they'll jump, Meena. I've seen that in front of my eyes happening. When the person says, how can I, Mayur, stay in a company where every day I go to the office with high tension? कि आज क्या होने वाला है? I got everything done on paper. I'm happy with like my hard work is. I can convince my boss, but he never talks about it. He will find something that probably I've not done, and then he'll hit on it, and he'll make my whole day a mess. How long can I take it? And that's when I feel, Meena, HR has to step in, and they have to drive certain initiatives by which such toxic people should be able to see what they're doing is hurting their own growth. That's why I put an exclamation now, not a comma.
See, many times, Mayur, see, these people say that, look at this, and someone, she's also having personal problems, difficulties with work, but she's not complaining. Just because a coworker doesn't practice self-disclosure, it doesn't mean no one should. These sort of remarks serve to stifle individuality and kill
Yeah.
any attempt of pointing out poor office practices.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can take up some pointers maybe just to
Yes.
some. I could see some comments coming in.
Yes, Anuradha is joining us, so let's just
Yeah.
add.
We
Welcome,
can take up
Anuradha.
some pointers
Yeah.
maybe just to
Yeah.
Hello.
That's
some.
right.
I could see some comments coming in.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayur, and good evening,
Good evening.
Meena.
Yes, Anuradha is joining us.
Yeah.
so
Are you
let's-
able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, it's coming a little delayed, but we can hear you now.
Okay. So,
I could see some comments coming in.
yeah. Good evening, Mayur, and good evening. I'm
Good
getting an
Anuradha is
echo.
joining us.
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, it's coming a little delayed, but we can hear you now.
Okay. So,
I could see some comments coming in.
yeah. Good evening.
Maybe she'll join us again. So well, let's
Yeah,
take.
yeah.
Mandar says, Indians work in coolie companies where number of hours equals work done. Multinationals have emphasis on productivity.
True. I totally agree
A
with
lot
that.
of people don't like people getting promoted, or if they are bachelors.
A lot of people don't like getting promoted, or if they're bachelors. Wow, that's a googly here. Martin, you need to sort of elaborate a bit on that. I think we have Anuradha back.
Yeah.
Is the audio clear?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, Meena, and good evening, Mayur. I have been following your Instagram account, Mayur. So, seen some of your motivational, that side, not the paranormal so much. Also saw a beautiful, I think, little song and dance you had put up about 10 or 15 days ago, and somebody said a new side to Mayur. So that was very nice. Yeah, as I think everybody has said in the comments, this is really the need of the hour to take up this, because this is something everybody probably experiences, but we rarely get a chance to talk about it. And as Mayur rightly said, in many cases, the job security keeps one, kind of quiet, or you don't want to talk about it. And I think it was Karthik or somebody else who said one has to be very careful whom we trust in the organization, because I think what happens is, there is this thing called mob mentality. I was reading about it once, and it said that, individually we're all very good people, we all want to help and all of that, but something happens to us when we become part of a group And sometimes, unless we're, as Mayur says, unless we're very spiritually grounded, or unless we've done our goal setting, it becomes easy to go along with the tide, and
Yeah.
just become one of the group. And so I think that's important. And also I found, I wanted to share that often this bullying, as Mayur said, they will often choose a soft target. And managers, there is a difference between managers and leaders. As they say that leaders, they don't want more followers. A real leader is one who creates more leaders, right? So while I happen to, I'm very blessed to be part of a wonderful organization where all these nuances are looked after. I have been part of organizations where there has been very, very toxic bullying that is both insidious. Nobody except the person being bullied would know, and it's also outright. It becomes so you could be the only South Indian in a group of maybe maybe North Indians. It could be a vegetarian in a group of most people who are non-vegetarians. And often, if they can't find fault with your work, they will attack your character, or they will attack something personal about you. It could be your looks, it could be your weight, anything. And while they say that, I think there are famous quotes that say that nobody can really take away your dignity unless you surrender it. I do believe, being a sensitive person, that is one really for the books. Because if you're actually in a situation where you are being bullied, it becomes very, very difficult, even for a professional to just stay calm and grounded. And somewhere you do feel maybe humiliated, you do feel disrespected. So, I think one looks for mentors. I think it also, I see that very few colleagues have the spine or even the interest. Maybe everybody is so engrossed in themselves and their career paths, to stand up for another. It's very rarely that you'll find somebody who will speak up for another. It happens, but I think it's rare. And most organizations don't encourage it. They will do everything to just ensure that you don't speak up. They may do it in different ways, but they make it clear that, look, just keep out of this. It's
Yeah.
nothing to do with you. So the person being bullied often finds himself alone. These are just my own observations. And as Meena, you rightly said, in that organization, you were honest enough to go up to them and say, look, this is what has happened. And anybody with an ounce of good sense in them would have thanked you.
Yeah.
But, it just went the other way. And yeah, I think that's all that I wanted to
Yeah.
share.
In fact, Nisha says in the Gulf, many times most of the whites end up as bosses only because of their skin color. It's the
Yeah,
Asians who do the brilliant work, and these guys take the credit.
yeah.
Yes, back to you, Mayur.
Yeah, a couple of things I can add value to your valuable points, Anuradha. Um, and I'll try to share these points with my own experiences. I remember, of course, no company names here. I remember a particular time of my life when I joined a company, and I was in sales. And during the break times, I would see these senior sales guys, and I was relatively new in this field as well. And I would, they would stand out for a smoke break, and I would obviously want to go and stand with them, and I don't smoke. But what used to happen was, I used to hear them talk about our boss, the sales guy, the main guy. And this was outside the office. You typically go out to smoke, right? And there were these three, four guys, and I would unknowingly, I became part of that group. Unknowingly, and I was new, and I felt obligated to laugh
Yeah,
on something just because I wanted to be with them. Otherwise, I felt the fear of being, ostracized from that group.
yeah,
Because sales is one where, if sales is like, hey, chalo yaar, let's go out. It's too stressful. Let's go for a drink, this, that, whatever. it's like a very strong group because the pressures are high. But that is when I was speaking to my father, because I honestly didn't like the fact that something some things were said about my our boss, which was very personal, and I didn't know how to react, but I was still there. So that's one example where my father actually told me that the first thing you do is get out of there. You just focus on getting your leads. You got targets. I said yes, focus on that. Don't get into trying to impress and be with that group, because you'll spoil your own perspective. Your respect for your boss will go away because you're hearing all that shit. So that's one. I also feel Anuradha and Meena, and I think somebody else has joined in as well, is everybody at the person when they enter an organization, nobody is vicious and sadistic, but sometimes their own ignorance to how to be a leader, and I really love that point, is leadership should be one of the core competencies in a manager.
Yeah.
Leaders are leaders, not leader is not a proper noun. I believe leader is an adjective. If I'm just working with this word,
Interesting.
is a manager should have leadership within him. And a true leader is he or she who actually, like you very rightly said, develops new leaders. And if this is what it should be, then how can a manager who really wants to be that leader will really hurt anybody? Because that's when if you remember, I was talking about mentoring. A wonderful leader is he or she who mentors. And I really feel it is nice to be important, but it is more important to be nice. And lot of people want only people to say, oh, such a big guy, oh, great sir. And I think that's because of they're bereft of the spiritual part. They want accolades, they want people to do maska polish. And I've had people telling me, अरे थोड़ा मस्का लगा दे यार, promotion आराम से मिल जाएगा. And but that's not the way it should be. I mean, you should be getting a promotion based on your competence or your hard work, typically. But if you can't do it there, then be very, cuddly to your boss, say something nice, which I think bosses who follow the true leadership way of growing, they will
Will not.
not entertain that. So these are a few perspectives I want to share from my side.
Vijay
Absolutely.
has joined us. So let's just take her point of
Hi,
view.
Vijay.
Welcome.
Hello,
Vijay.
hi, it's Bijal. I've been watching Miss Mina's show for ages, and I try and catch yours because I'm in the UK, so the timing's a bit different. But I
Yeah.
try and log in when I can, and I really appreciate this topic because I'm going through that at this current time, in my own position in my job. There's been a huge change because of the pandemic and everything, but I find that there are underhand tactics, and like Mr. Mayur just said, people. I think you said Muska, they
Yeah.
do that with their bosses, and they think they'll get the benefit, but in the long term, I don't think that will assist. And the best thing to do is, it's true, when you're spiritual, you don't have to be of any religion of sort. Um, you just kind of practice that calmness, and if you're rejected for something or you didn't get something, you have to think of it as a divine a detour, in a way, that it's a blessing in disguise
Well
as
said.
well. Sometimes we think something bad happened, but it's a good thing that we don't see. And that's how I take it. But I also think that developing personal boundaries in both corporate world and also personal relationships is something I'm still learning. It's a work in progress, because when you have those healthy boundaries, you're able to draw a line on the wrongdoings, but not in a vicious way, right? So that's all I wanted to say.
Well said.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. It's wonderful
Thank
to
you.
have Bijal joining in from UK. Nice to have you and your thoughts. So nice you spoke about spirituality. One thing I've seen to add, and Anuradha, Meena, please add in your perspectives as well,
Yeah.
is what I felt is being spiritual, and in the way that Bijal brought it out, which I completely agree, is a person who's spiritually evolving through whichever ways will have the strength and the conviction to stand up like Meena you do. That's because of your spirituality, according to me. It's not because of your academics and etc. They will give you this beautiful, fragrant, but yet superficial confidence that we all have. But intrinsic confidence, I believe, comes when I personally believe, maybe I'm wrong, when we are spiritually strong, when our spirit is strong. But in a jovial way, I did say to one of my friends who wanted to stand up to his boss because this guy left two companies because of his bosses. I said, it's time you stand up, but before you stand up, find two new jobs also as a backup. Because when you stand up, and if you're asked, and if your life is made worse, you need to have something as a backup here. Because this is not a movie where, oh, I stood up to my boss, I told him that this is not the way you should treat people. And after half an hour, I was told to leave the office and the company. Now, Mayur, now what do I do? That also is tough, no? So it's important to have a backup. And my final, it's a combination of philosophical thinking and spiritual thinking, along with your own belief in your competency and your own attitude. If you know who you are, suppose if I know that I have a problem with punctuality and I'm working on it, okay, and if suppose somebody says a remark, yeah, yaar, tu pura late latif hai, you keep coming late, what, you have no discipline at all, because you have already, because you've done your introspection, you've done your SWOT analysis, maybe you will not be affected by that third person, but you will say to yourself, fair enough, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. So if I strengthen my strengths and work on my weaknesses, I personally will always grow and will be less affected by other people's comments. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I
Anuradha.
really appreciate Bijal sharing. Have I got your name right? Is that
Yeah,
the way to
it's
Yeah,
perfect, Yeah.
right. And I really appreciate your, not many of us, would share what we're going through. We are happy to share generalities, but most of us err on the side of caution. Thank you for sharing. And I do hope that, things get better. And I'm sure you will come out of this stronger and wiser, you know. I wanted to share, I'm a teacher and I'm a special educator. And about 10, 12 years back, I was working with a group of, I think they were I think they were students in 10th or 11th. I'm not sure, but I know it was in the higher grades because marks were very important. And I remember this girl, she got good marks. I cannot remember, but whatever. She must have gotten 80 or something. And another two children who had not fared very well. I don't remember the exact details, but they came up to me and they gave me some, there was some discussion about their answer and all of that. And I think that they needed extra time or something. And I felt that in fairness I should give them a couple of marks extra, right? It was a class of 7 or 8, so I turned to the other students and I said that one or two of them had fared so badly. I remember this boy looking at me. He says, ma'am, I failed. It doesn't make a difference to me whether you give them. This girl she was in the top rung, so I said, what about you? And her answer stayed with me. I can remember it even today. She said, no, it's okay, it doesn't matter to me. But I said, it's possible then this child will score more than you. She said, that's okay, I've got what I deserved, what I worked for. And I just looked at her and she said, it doesn't matter what others get or don't get. And that 13-year-old taught me a lesson that day.
Yeah.
She was so sure. I just said, oh, I mean, they say that teachers, we're always learning alongside. And that lesson
Yeah,
has stayed with me. So much wisdom,
yeah,
and I wish I had that wisdom sometimes. And
Yeah.
as you were talking about leaders and managers, that quote says that adversity any man can handle. But if you want to know a man's character, give him power,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
In
that's
fact,
a
see, a
powerful.
question I have for Mayur is that, see,
Yeah.
does this kind of bullying actually affect a person psychologically? So, and what are these conditions?
Yeah, I would say very quickly, I'll respond to you, Meena. Um, a person who, like I said, isn't prepared mentally to face such kind of tactics, bullying tactics, um, is very susceptible to having even his personal life being affected.
Yeah.
Because what mainly affects, this is my personal view, is what mainly gets affected is the mind, the thinking. there's a lot of self-doubt that starts getting awakened within the person, because the person is not able to understand why am I being treated in a particular way. And like I said, if the person is himself or herself not aware of his or her own strengths, it can affect relationships. It can make the person, like if I'm reiterating, pardon me for that, is doubt himself or herself as to, am I really that bad?
Mhm.
Every time the person wants to do something new, wants to make a decision, wants to try a new way of doing things, maybe become innovative, he will stop, because whatever that person had set as a way of bullying him to show that he's the boss or she's the boss will play. So that's why I said that weakness of the mind, where the person is not sure about himself or herself, will make it more difficult. And I've seen anger. You ask me what happens, right? Meena, anger, frustration. Because sometimes when a person is getting bullied or being spoken or scolded in front of others at office, if that person is not able to give it back, he gives it at home. He says things which, the frustration gets vented out to the wife, to the spouse, or to the mother, who understand. They say, maybe he had a bad day. But if he keeps having a bad day every day, it's bad.
Yeah.
There are issues where a father and son relationship has become distanced because the father is not interested in talking to the son. He's more did that person say that to me in office. That's one. People have even gone through depression because they can't even open their mouth and shout at others at home. So they swallow it. I'm not saying this happens everywhere, every time. But if we are not able to handle it at that point of time, and either not stand up, but at least process it, which is why I again come back to that, because the spiritual part always takes the fall. Is
Yeah.
if the person spends, they say that you have a personal life, you have a professional life, but please create a private life, a private space where you can process this, where you can think about what happened, why did he say that. See, Meena, that private space isn't created to process, no? Then that bullying will have a trickling domino effect
Yeah.
in our personal life. Our friends, our friends' relations can also get affected because we don't know how to deal with it. So that's my response to your question, Meena.
Welcome, Sujata and Mandar.
Yeah, hi, Meenadi and Mayurji. This is a nice topic, and just hope to put in just 2 minutes before I give a chance to Mandar, because I'm also waiting to hear what he says. I read his comments and I was like, kind of,
Very interesting.
So
What Mandar has
yeah,
been,
very interesting.
writing. Yes.
Yes. So I worked with the healthcare industry, and Mayurji, it was so horrible. A person from the hospitality industry, he became our immediate reporting manager, and he went up his way because he had a lot of links with the foreign transition manager, and it was so difficult. Like, he made my life difficult. I came out from being an angry young lawyer to the healthcare industry, didn't know much about all this diplomacy and politics and all that. You
Right.
completely thrown into a new zone, and I didn't
Yeah.
know diplomacy, the D of diplomacy. And I was like a rat, bull in the china shop or something like that. And it was very bad. He made my life miserable in a very beautiful company. uh, they were not paying as much. You know how it was during
That's
the
the sad part,
early 2000.
Sujata.
Mm.
See, when the
uh,
company is good and you have some of these nasty people,
yes,
you
yes,
though you want to do well, you can't do well because of this
yes.
one particular person.
Yes, and Minadi, even in the appraisal, this man, the so-called Malayali chap, he's such a he was such an arrogant person. He made an indecent proposal, that saying that if you come
When did he do all
during
this?
the weekends, yeah, yes, he said that, come during the weekends, and please, you have to be part of
He's
our
quite a
parties.
multitasker.
And Mayurji, he blatantly asked me on my face, Sujata, that's the way he calls me, you do not come for my parties. His Malayali accent, and I was like so pissed off. I said, see, I hang around with men whom I like to. I don't have to come to your parties just because you are my boss. I'm sorry. I don't date my boss. or I don't party. He
Very
was
amusing.
pissed off, you know. I told him, I know I'll be jacked. So I told him, sorry, I'm not interested. Me being a gold medalist in my subject and, going there and saying, yes, boss to my manager, I still can understand. It's okay. People get lucky. But this chap, he said, I'll put you in PIP. I said, no problem, put me in PIP or whatever you want. It's okay. I know this is the end of my career in this company, but surely there are other companies out there. So you see, you have to go through this. And
Yeah.
I've known of girls who are very accommodative. I'll use that word for the lack of whatever. And trust me, within 6 months, I see this girl get a promotion. She just entered the company and she's not even made permanent and she gets a promotion. So, I mean, good for them. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but it's a very, very cutthroat competition. Very cutthroat. And
That's the
as
easy,
Mayurji
that's the
said,
easy way out,
ah,
Sujata. Yeah.
yes, as Mayurji said, if you don't have that backbone and that support and that focus, there are a lot of things which can happen. And I know boys and girls who were younger who became suicidal, because they didn't know how to take the pressure. And it
Just
was it
before,
was
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Yeah.
Before Mandar, hi Mandar, namaskar. Kasa hai Mandar Karnik? Your mic is down. How are you,
Yes,
Mandar?
yes, I'm very good, sir.
Kasa hai tu? Are you from Mumbai? Where are you from?
I live in Mira Road, sir.
अरे वा मीरा रोड आएगा नेक्स्ट टाइम व्हेन आई कम टू बोरिवली हा आणि एकटा एकटा काय खातोस रे मला पण ते काय खातोस शिरा का
नाही नाही it is म्हणजे stir fried vegetables आणि chicken आहे.
हाँ 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 क्या क्या बात है यार और हम लोग यहाँ पे सिर्फ बातें कर रहे हैं मस्त मंदार but
I'm
before I'm just joking Mandar before you come in just want to say one sentence if you don't mind Meena just one sentence
Yes.
Ned I was just reading Ned's statement comment
Yeah.
and I just wanted to bring that in and then Mandar please come in if you don't mind is he said who really needs uh, who really needs help and in a way facilitation are the people who behave like that
Yeah.
because ignorance is not bliss for such people. They will stoop to such levels because they're not educated. If you can't be spiritual, if you don't have that exposure to spirituality, which will give you that backbone, at least allow yourself to be trained in terms of how to be a manager. At least understand that spend 5 minutes with yourself and ask that lady out for a party, was that the right thing to do or not? These people don't even ask those questions because if you ask, that person will realize, yaar, sala, ye to wrong ho gaya, yaar, I should not have done that. But they don't understand that they're supposed to first ask themselves the questions.
Yeah.
So if so, that's what Ned was, I think, pointing out is desperate need for such people to change. Because if it leads to youngsters even going suicidal, see the kind of situation it can lead to, yeah. And that's where I think as a genuinely spiritualized trainer, if I can put myself, because I actually start my sessions with Daridre Dahana Shivastotra Meena. I start my
Yeah.
sessions wherever I am. I've done that even in Malaysia because vibrations are very important. And even when I do personal coaching, I recite a mantra only so that the mind gets very positive. Then when you tell them stuff about how to deal with women, how to deal with men, the difference between personal and professional, some, like I said, Meena, some managers do not know how to deal with people because they're only technocrats. They're gold medalists in engineering, but they don't know how to deal with a person who's not performing. So they'll shout, they will. So that's what I wanted to share. Mandar, sorry, a little elongated prolonged my monologue, but please, Meena, that's where I put a full stop
Yes,
to my
Manda. Yeah.
communication.
Thank you, Manda. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I think also that in India, a lot of politics is based on relationships. So the manager is only in his position because he has a good relation with the higher ups.
Yeah.
And so, once you have that relationship based culture, not a merit based culture, you will always get this culture where, if you suck up to me, if you are in my gang essentially, then everything will be hunky dory. That's why, you as Visa Lakshmi said, I also agree because I have seen these things where, if you are friendly with your bosses, if you're a girl, even I have seen it for the boys, who have female bosses and everything. So this is happening because the HR as a function is not very strong in India. In India, it is the boss who is strong. HR is just there to do payroll and all those things. उसके ऊपर they
Time
don't
sheets.
think about HR.
Which is why we have to play some extra role, bro. because
Yes.
because as an outsider, when we come and we tell them, Baba, this is how you should be, किधर तो वो ज्ञान आता है. And with due respect to all the HRs, Mandar, you're so right. It's more about recruitment. Today attrition is really very high. You'll be surprised to know today in these times, actually people are leaving because they're getting opportunities, and if they had good bosses, they would have still stayed back. So
Yes.
you're
And
right,
also,
Mandar.
and
Absolutely.
also Mayur
Bosses,
and
like bosses in
Mandar,
India
see
think that they are on the
another,
chair
yeah,
for eternity, and that's why they also don't believe in mentorship. So mentorship only happens. I have been in a few MNC companies where I have had good mentors, but I have been in Indian companies, Indian family-owned companies, where mentorship concept doesn't exist because the
yeah,
boss always thinks कि अरे तू तो 3 साल में चला जाएगा, I'm here forever.
yeah,
So that is, and and I am a company secretary and a CSN lawyer. So in our department is very small. So it's always like you are direct competition for your boss. You don't have 100 people's department.
yeah,
You have 4 5 people in the
right.
department. So mentorship as a concept doesn't exist there.
See, there are 2 points. One is which Sunanda is saying. I was hated because I made no groups and I talked to talk to everyone. So that's one problem. Then a brilliant comment by uh, question actually by Subha. Questions to Mayur. How do we escape from these bullies? Because we can't go down to their level and bully them back. And can they be called narcissists? Please ask this question.
So I'll take this question and answer it, Subha. It's not about. So the question is, do we escape these bullies? You can't escape these bullies. You're in the ocean. You're in the ocean, and the sharks are swimming along. So the only way you can escape is get out of the ocean, and you can't because you're a fish, metaphorically speaking. That's one. I think second part was, do we also bully back? Don't bully back. I mean, you can be Chanakya. Use Chanakya Niti, and strategize. Remember, Subha, I said, and I shared this passionately, that a person who has set his goals, short term, medium term, long term, I want to earn this much, that much, that much, I want to have this. When you're so focused, it will give you a lot of strength to stand up. So there's a difference between bully back, which you can't, believe you me, and that's not in your nature. And you're right, we shouldn't. But can't you stand up? Like Meena, you were talking about, you stood up. Again, all these conversations are very subjective, isn't it? Because you may say, Mayur, if I stand up, then next thing is get out. So you have
Yeah,
to be smart enough how to stand up. At the core, I feel your work should really speak for itself. And second is when you just say things with polite firmness. Nice people sometimes are over respectful to their managers. They feel by being over respectful, they'll be in the good books, they're doing their work. The boss will say, very nice. No, when you're doing very good work, the boss may say, "Sara, ye to bahut hi acha kar raha hai yaar. Isko to abhi thoda नीचा करना." Internally, he will give you the pedhas, the laddus, the rasgullas, but it's all, sort of intrinsically, there is a sense of envy and jealousy. All I say is to Subha, don't bully back, but give back with your work. If you do well, on what basis can he say? That's why I think Mandar was also saying sometimes, they will say things, or somebody else was also saying, they'll say things which may not be to do with the work, because work wise you're doing well. So they try to go to the other aspects which are your personal things. And if you are spiritually strong, it should not affect you. So we always say we should have a crocodile skin, a tough skin. Because if you have a tough skin and you're doing good work, it's okay. There are some people say, अरे ठीक है यार, boss कुछ भी बोलता है, हमारे पास भी दो दिए हैं ना years, यहाँ से ले लो, यहाँ से छोड़ दो. So you have to be smart enough to know how to be with different types of people. थोड़ा चाणक्य नीति पढ़ो and you'll understand how to deal with those different types of people. But remember, your goals, I think, are very important. If your goals are strong, everything around it, you'll be able to manage, is what I personally believe.
yeah. Karthik says, when I used to stand up to my boss, he used to find out my small
Yeah,
mistakes and bring it up in weekly meetings. I was insulted
exactly.
regularly in front of everyone.
That's what they do. That's what they do.
So if I
Okay,
may,
okay, then I'll leave the chat box. for somebody else. Nice
Fine. Thank
talking
you
to
so
you
much,
and nice
Sridhar.
meeting you, Manjar. Okay, bye bye.
Mandar,
Bye.
Mandar,
Yeah,
yes.
Mandar, Mandar. Bye, Mandar.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Yes, Mandar, you were saying something.
So regarding those personal comments, I think in India, yes, we generally see that this personal comment culture works because everybody feels this is normalized. And I have been in situations where we work with foreigners. We had foreigners in a company, and their attitude is very different. They will never, go personal with you. And so, if you are in an MNC, that quality, that culture percolates down to the lowest staff. And so once
Correct.
you go to MNC and then you go back to another Indian company where this culture, you will see this culture. It becomes very difficult to survive in such a situation, especially if your grounding has been in such a culture. I think this
True.
cultural issue is also there in our. It is not there in my generation at least, but in the previous generation, it is a very like I have been to interviews where they have asked me my caste. Arey, kahan se ho? What is your caste? So
My.
this question will never come to me if I'm taking an interview, but it is normal for them. So that is a generation gap which is there. That is also there.
See,
Mm.
what Kritika
Sad.
says is very true because see, this is exactly what happened to me when I was in Dubai. I was working for a magazine, and I like someone else said that see, I used to just do my work quietly and go back home. So the top management used to make a visit once in a while to the office, and once he came and he said, he looked at me and he said, "Don't think I don't notice you. I notice you." You know, and I said, "Oh, thank you." I said, and he went off. Now, see, being an Arab, perhaps he meant that, see, I appreciate your work. Maybe, perhaps that. So then the whole incident happened where he said that I should replace the two editors, chief editors, and, take their place. But see, I couldn't do it. See, I'm brought up in such a way where my parents tell me, no, go the straight way. So that also was my mistake. I told them that, see, this is what he said, and that worked against them, and they wanted to get rid of me. You see, because I was the obstacle in their path, and this is exactly what Kritika is saying. Even while doing good work, but being silent, you're targeted.
Correct.
Yeah,
You
Mayur.
know, Meena, I can, we're sort of coming towards the 1 hour mark, and
Yeah,
just to take a little bit of go a little away from the subject. I mean, Karthik, you're so cute and so funny. I mean, he's also explained the meaning of the name Mandar. So sweet of
Mom.
you. Mandar is the name of hibiscus flower. So
This
nice.
flower is actually given to the Ganpati, and so we have a
Ganpat.
Yeah.
temple called Mandareshwar in Maharashtra. So
Arre
that is
वाह.
how my name came.
क्या बात है. So wonderful. Karthik, thank you so much, yeah, for bringing in the
Being a
fragrance of
fragrance
the
of it.
hibiscus flower by sharing the meaning of it. Meena, I'm hearing all this, and Mandar, really nice. You're sharing experiential aspects. Um, I can only say that this is a very subjective topic, Meena. It's easy to advise somebody and say, stand up. Just sort of, it's okay if he tells you if you have to leave a job, but it's not that easy because we've taken loans, we've got our life, we just can't take the risk. But at the same time, the word that keeps coming to my mind, or came to my mind, is lines. Where do you draw a line? If somebody keeps becoming aggressive, if there's a lot of toxicity and you're not able to bear it anymore, if it affects your personal life, if it affects you to even while you're watching a movie, you're not even able to enjoy a movie. And if it happens consistently, then it's crossing a line. And that line is up to you to draw it. And I believe nothing matters more than the happiness that you derive when you're with your close ones. And if that line is crossed,
Absolutely.
leave it. Leave it, because you're not married to your job. And but when you leave, you better be sure that you have a backup. You just don't leave and walk away. It's not a Hindi movie. You throw the paper, मैं छोड़ रहा हूं. No. Be smart enough. And if you're competent, if you know who you are, there are many people who will be ready to take you. But don't leave easy. Don't leave easy, because that means you lost the battle. Earlier somebody said, can we give back? Can we bully back? Don't. But stand down. to the extent that the person next time thinks twice before bullying you. Remember one thing:
See,
bullies will
also,
always pick on the weak people, right? So yeah,
yeah. Also, Mayur, see, one thing you notice, and this is something I tell, my family is that, see, if the person, who's bullying you, sees that there's no fear in your eyes,
correct,
it's that which frightens them,
absolutely,
because that means you cannot be bullied anymore.
yep,
And see, that is telling them very clearly that we understand your game. You
true, true, true.
That's enough to frighten them. But
Absolutely,
again, see, as
absolutely.
you say, depending on the relationship between him and the top boss, things happen
And
accordingly.
I also want to add here, Meena, that today we have been speaking a lot from the perspective of a receiver of bullying, right? A lot of it.
Yeah, yeah,
But we have to understand that we are going to be also playing a role of a manager. And believe you me not, there are people who are the nicest people. Like I said earlier in the session, surprisingly, their behavior changes
yeah,
because of insecurities and jealousy, etc. So we need to
yeah.
uh, spiritualize ourselves. We need to really make our inner core very strong and filled with corporate values. If we can be the good managers and good leaders, we are also setting a positive effect in the organization. So this is also a message to all of us that we can set the right trend as well, right? Another one small thing is gossips. Politics and gossips are like cousins. And I've always tried my best, though it's very tempting, it's very tempting to get into gossips. Are aaj suna kya iska? And you want to know, you're like itching to know. And sometimes when you listen to gossips, our own behavior towards that person about whom the gossip is being made, our behavior can change. We used to like him, but we are hearing so much of negativity about him that tomorrow when he comes in front of me, I'm a little changed, and that's so sorry. That's so not done. So I always try. My work is such that I have no chance to gossip because the only person I gossip is with myself about kya karna hai life mein. But in a corporate, when you have people, it's very easy to get sucked into a gossip, and that's what happened when I was in sales. So that's my humble request to me first and to everybody is, make the core strong and try not to get affected by people talking, ye ho raha hai, aur ye ho gaya, all that. I just focus on your work, yeah. What have I learned?
You
Which
know,
new course I want to do? Stuff like that.
yeah. Mayur, see, this funny thing is that, see, all this you realize when you grow older. Okay. When you're actually going through the that phase, you feel so upset. You don't feel like going to office. It's like,
Yeah,
your mother dragging you to the kindergarten, and it's terrible. It's terrible.
I know, I know.
So thank you, Mandar, and thank you, Mayur, so much for this
Yeah,
wonderful session. And do join us, Mandar, whenever you get the chance, because I was following your comments and very interesting. And though we don't have such a huge subscription this thing, but we notice each and every one of you, and that makes it more, as if we can reach out to you and you understand what we say. And that's what Mayur always says. I mean, when I come to your show, I feel as if I can reach out to each one of you. So
yeah.
that makes it very special.
Your
Sometimes,
subscription will increase. Don't worry.
yeah.
Just a matter of
Uh,
time.
Yeah. No, they say that there are these bamboos. The story of the bamboo, right? You know that the story of the bamboo is that initially it takes a lot of time to just grow a few inches, inches, inches. Suddenly they shoot up,
Yeah,
and like Meena, for me, it doesn't matter whether it's a bamboo or a hibiscus flower or the plant. If I can put mandar in that, it's all about how we organically grow.
absolutely.
Today Mandar comes in with his perspectives. I've seen him personally. I've seen him here for the first time, and I'm so happy. And there are the regular sixer hitters in the cricket match, like Kartiks and Sujatas, and everybody who come in and share some lovely points of view. Martins, lovely. And I think that like Swami Vivekananda said, that education is not really how much you know; it's how well you know. I mean, I'm looking at the depth of this, Meena. So when we do a session, we go deeper into it. We have people sharing thoughts, and I'm sure this message or what's come out of this session will be definitely it'll reach out because it's there on the internet. So thanks, Meena. Always a pleasure. Mandar, remember I do talk about other topics which you will probably
Yes.
come to know. This
I
is
think I've
to
seen
do
you
with my
on
career of
the
training
show.
and development. Yeah,
Yes, I've seen you on Ranveer Labadia show, I think.
yeah. So good, nice. And Meena, thanks as always, and love all of you who are watching this. The family, the I call it the Candid Meena family, and with all your good wishes and blessings, I'll again come back. Hopefully, Meena inviting me again, and we'll talk about
The
something
funny thing,
else,
Mayur,
something
is that
different.
certain people, certain people who come on the show who are not candid end up being candid by the end of it.
That is your power, I guess. You get the candid aspect out.
Yeah.
No, I think it's very open. It's easy, and when I do my training programs, I don't even use PowerPoint slides for 20
Yeah.
years. I use different ways. Simple is very important. You look at Mahatma Gandhi, you look at Nelson Mandela, even Jeff Bezos. I heard him say that even in his presentations, he doesn't encourage PPT slides and all. It has to be straight. Yeah. I mean, it has to be a talk, and it has to be without those big words. So, and I'm happy that your people, our family members here, they participate so wonderfully. So that's what I want to say. I'm always blessed to opportunities like these here to talk. So
So we'll end with Sloka.
yes. Wow. Thanks. The topic was different, so almost it skipped my mind. Let me conclude with as my way of saying thanks to you, Meena, and to all the members who are here. Mm, Om मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितः परब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानम् वर्षिष्ठान्ते वसत् ऋषिगणैः आवृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दमूर्तिम् स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बाधरायणम् ॐ जटाकटाहि सम्भ्रमन् भ्रमन् निलिम्पनिर्झरि लोलवीचिवल्लरी विराजमानमूर्धनि धगत् धगत् धगज्ज्वलल्ललाटपट्टपावके किशोरचन्द्रशेखरे रति प्रतीक्षणं मम ॐ नमः पार्वतीपतये हर हर महादेव ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Thank you, Mayur, and thank you,
See you soon.
Manda, for joining and the wonderful session, man.
Yeah, different and vibrant. Thanks to all the
Yeah.
participants as well. I'll see
Good
you then.
night.
Bye bye. See you, Mandar. See you, everybody. Bye.
Yeah. See you.